books. And a man, actually, so I saw a video that's gone viral on social media. A man who's a property investor, a man who was offered a huge sum to house migrants in one of his hotels, and he put a video online saying, nope, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm pleased to say brilliant Samara reached out to Samuel Leeds, and Samuel Leeds is here in the studio. Heroes welcome. Heroes welcome.
Good to be on.
Tell me, how did this come about? Did they just like sort of send some sort of letter in the post, or someone knock at the door?
You know what happened? So for a start, buy-to-let has been getting very difficult. So a lot of landlords are renting to these housing associations.
Yeah.
And I was one of those landlords. So I'd rent a lot of my properties, HMOs, big HMOs, to housing associations, and then they would put vulnerable people in where the council would pay.
And the vulnerable people largely at this point in time are sort of, young kids who...
You don't know exactly who they are, that's the thing. Like, when the first house that I rented out, I was told it was homeless people, and then when I went, I was a bit like, okay. But the rent is great, but then, there's connections, and it's all very mysterious because Home Office don't come to you direct and say, hey, I can give you some money. What happens is there's companies in between, and there's so many companies, and then they'll approach landlords, and then they'll offer a guaranteed rent, and then they'll take their money from the council.
So they basically say to the landlord, we'll manage the property for you,
yes.
And then we're the ones who take the money from the Home Office, and we'll pay you.
Yeah.
And they pay above the odds.
It depends. I mean, I was offered £35,000 per month for a 7-year lease, well, 6 years and 11 months. So basically a 7-year lease. And all repairs, they were responsible. They're responsible for everything.
So money for nothing, basically.
Well, money for just owning the hotel.
Yeah. So you're not having to do the repairs. You're not having to do that.
And I was tempted, and I went through the heads of terms, and it just said vulnerable people.
Right.
And I thought, I'm going to press this a little bit and find out who these vulnerable people are. So I contacted the company that had put the proposal to me, who as a man I know. And he said, oh yeah, vulnerable people, might be some homeless people and asylum seekers, and I just thought, and the more I looked into it, I worked out the average asylum seeker, we pay £4,000 a month to house someone who's coming in. And then how much are our benefits if someone hasn't got a job? £1,000 at best.
Yeah.
So why are we paying 4 times as much for an asylum seeker or for someone that's come in? It doesn't make any sense, and that's when I just thought, you know what, I don't want to back this because I don't actually believe it's right, and I didn't. And then when I put the video out, I've been flooded with messages from people within the village that have just
saying thank you. I bet. Yeah, because that's it. I mean, if you had said yes to this, everyone, maybe not everyone, there might be the odd sort of short fringe placard waving lefty who'd think you were,
I had a few of those.
A wonderful human.
One person actually just today.
I think you're scum of the earth.
A guest left me a bad review and was offended because there's a Union flag in the hotel.
Oh, for crying out loud!
And of course, the person who's offended is a white English.
That's always
wokey who's all offended.
A woker
That's the thing. Like, even my post, immigrants. My wife's an immigrant. Immigrants that have come in, that have worked their asses off to come in legally and do it properly, they agree with me.
Yeah, oh no, they do. They're the first people. It's always the
people. I'm African, I'm Italian, I'm this, and I agree with you. Oh, thank you for not doing it. Because it's not, the thing is, it's not fair. Why should we? And also, I'm not being funny, Alex, but my hotel's very nice. Yeah, boutique. I was there when I was doing the video, and I was just with the group.
Sort of. Were they about to these migrants were basically going to be given the sort of the 4-poster bed, the luxury spa treatment, the sort of swan-shaped towel on the end of the bed?
Absolutely. It's in 3 acres of grounds. You're there at the window, beautiful. It's nicer than my house at home. And I was just thinking, fancy putting illegal immigrants that have come over, not paid anything, no visa. Like that's mockery. That is.
It is. It's trolling us.
And it is trolling us. Part of that, and for me to say, it's all right, I'll just take the money. 35 grand every month for 7 years. That's about £3 million. It worked out just under £3 million, and that would have been passive, but doing nothing. But I just thought, you know what? But interesting. Since I put the video out, I've had loads of bookings from people that have said, let's go and stay.
I love this. So £3 million. And in the back of your head, were you also thinking, this is, it's a hotel where you're from as well, is it? Your neck of the woods,
I don't live there, no. It's in Cambridgeshire, Willingham House, it's called. Right. A little village called Willingham. Very boutique, very nice. And yeah, it was tempting. It was very tempting. I almost did it.
Oh, huge. I mean, a lot of people would have their heads turned by 3 million quid for doing nothing.
Yeah.
Of course they
Well,
would.
they are, aren't they? Look at all the hotels that are taking the money.
Yeah.
And I mean...
I want to know who these people are because, you know, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would have their heads turned by that amount of money. It's almost ridiculous. It's almost illogical to turn it down. But I would be there in the back of my head thinking, I have basically just pressed the button to screw up an entire village.
Yeah.
You know, all these people whose house prices are going to plummet, whose daughters don't feel safe,
You're right,
who suddenly want to move out, who can't sell their properties.
It's common sense, isn't it? Who would you rather live next to? Would you rather live next to a hotel where they're doing weddings, which is what we're going to be doing next year now? Now we've decided to take it back. Weddings, nice, holiday makers, in a lovely hotel, or would you rather it be some government contract with who knows who is in there? It's quite obvious, isn't it?
So talk to me about like HMOs as well, because we're hearing, you know, asylum hotels are now, well, if there is, of course, this counter appeal by the government against the ruling over the Bell Hotel in Epping Forest, which of course will potentially create a blueprint for other local authorities to challenge the existence of migrant hotels within their communities. But the government sort of saying, well, we're going to close them all down. And they want to close them all down by putting these people into HMOs. And as a woman, and a lot of women have been messaging me today agreeing with me, I find that even worse. And I'll tell you for why. I hate the hotel thing. I don't understand why, if you're a genuine asylum seeker, or if you're from such a, you know, flea-ridden, horrible hellhole of a country where you've probably come from somewhere without electricity and running water, or you've been in France in a bin-bag bivouac in the dunes of Calais for so long, that, you know, why we can't just create temporary, secure, clean, hygienic encampments that are safe for these people, but it doesn't have to be hotels. When it comes to some of these young men being put into house of multiple occupancy, at least with a hotel, it's a bit difficult to take the 14-year-old girl you've chatted up off the park bench back to your bedroom. It's a bit difficult to be there cutting up meth on the countertop. I also know, I've got a friend who's in a similar business, but he looks after young adults with learning difficulties and people who need that sort of sheltered accommodation. But he's got people in that sort of, in that world. And there was someone whose house had been turned into a migrant HMO, and they had a really nice induction hob. And these people had literally taken a mallet or something to the induction hob, smashed it in, caved it in, and put charcoal in the cavity to cook their food that way. You just think, for crying out loud. But the idea of, you know, 6 Syrians, Somalis, Afghans, men from deeply misogynistic cultures who have probably been sexually deprived throughout their lives, where women aren't even allowed to show their face, living in a house where they could basically, you know, like the Pakistani rape gang, say to a young girl, oh, come back, have some drink, have some cigarettes, come to the bedsit. I just think it's going to be so dangerous. It's so much harder, one would assume, to actually bring guests overnight to the hotel. So I wanted to get your opinion on that, as someone who has HMOs. If they were to turn around and say, well, look, you know, you have these private residential properties, would you be happy taking 6 guys who have previously been in the Bell Hotel in Epping Forest? Will you have the same approach? Will you also say no? Because actually, I don't know about the next door neighbour and the people over the street. And
yeah, it's a tough question because I think a boutique, beautiful hotel manor house is not appropriate. I mean, for me, that was very clear. A HMO, I mean, I've not had it happen. I've not had anybody approach me. For me, it's easy because if I disagree with a principal, I can say no because I'm doing all right financially. But the problem is, most landlords now they're bringing in these new taxes, and they're going to charge national insurance
on rental income.
Not for the big companies, not for BlackRock. Not for Lloyds Bank, for the small companies.
For Mr. Jones, who instead of, you know, a pension invested in some property.
So what's going to happen is all of these landlords that aren't making enough money with their rents, because the average landlord makes £2,000 a month. Once national insurance comes in, wealth tax, sales tax. After Keir Starmer said we won't increase taxes for working people. Hang on. Landlords that have got 2 or 3 houses that are making a couple grand a year off each property, they're working people. So he's lied. To me, that is a blatant lie. So what's happening is these people are being then bribed by these housing associations. If you Google housing association, and some are good. I've got houses where I do house people that have been on the streets, women that are fleeing domestic abuse. You've got safe houses. refugees or asylum seekers, I mean, is there a place for that?
There was a sort of thing back in the day, certainly about 10, 20 years ago, that if someone said we're, you know, housing a refugee, people said, yeah, that's fine, because we sort of had a sense that these people were genuine refugees and had come to this country.
It's the amount of money, though, Alex.
It's just a huge multinational industry of people trafficking, of criminality, of sex tourism. I'll say this over and over again. I'm sorry, as a woman, a lot of these men come from very sexually repressed societies, and part of the pull of coming to the West is to come and, you know, sow their wild oats. It is, without a doubt. When you see a lot of them coming over with their snatchy, you know, jackets and their new trainers.
We've got a housing shortage. So, as you say, maybe if we were to create something more appropriate, but to spend £4,000, the taxpayers' money is spending up to £170 per night per asylum seeker. I'm sorry, I've got good friends that are on housing benefits. They don't get that.
Yeah.
So I think that's the problem. I mean, you know, I understand if someone's fleeing. There's a there's a place. I'd like to think I'm compassionate.
If you're fleeing, you've not gone through 8 countries, right? And you've not been paying criminals thousands of pounds.
Alex, I'm not a politician.
And chucking your documents in the sea.
I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
I didn't want my hotel to be flooded with anybody who was not a holiday maker, a tourist, a business professional. It's a hotel.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming from. In terms of what the policy should be, it's a very complex situation.
Definitely do bear in mind, if they come a knocking,
which they will probably will.
They will.
Very soon.
Oh, they will.
Although they're upset with me now. I'm now getting Serco just tweeted, it wasn't us. We never made a formal offer. But here's how they work. Right? Here's how they work. There's all these companies. I think there's backhanders or something. Right? There's all these companies that will set up a company and then they'll introduce, and it's like rent to rent.
So Serco will give the tender to,
I don't know,
you know, something else. Who might give the tender to something else, and then finally that person's already knocks on your door and says.
All I know is there's so much money that the government give.
God.
For asylum seekers and other people that probably don't deserve the money. There's so much money, billions and billions of pounds every single year that people can afford to go, I'll pass to you, then you can pass to that, and everyone makes money. There's so much money.
There is basically an illegal immigration industrial complex, from the people traffickers to the human rights lawyers to these, you know, all these people offering these services. There are people making a shed load of money out of it, aren't they?
So it's an interesting one, but for me, the hotel, I decided to keep it a hotel. Hopefully it will do well. I'm sure it will. It's doing okay, but it's doing okay. My HMOs, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Just
bear in mind the women, because a lot of women have messaged me today, before you came on, and not about this, we were talking about this in the first half of the programme as it happens, but a lot of women saying, you know, I hate the hotels, but I would feel really freaked out if all of a sudden
next door neighbour.
Yeah. And what's going to happen to little girls then? Because I'm sorry.
Do you know everything as well? You don't even need a HMO licence.
Do you not?
No.
So you could just come to anybody who's got a property and say, will you have some
They have made it so attractive and so easy to rent to companies like Serco. It's commercially, it is a no-brainer. I mean, I've got good friends that literally just buy houses, rent them out to Serco, and they've got hundreds of houses, and that's their whole business model.
And that's it. Buy a house, rent to Serco.
Yeah, that's it. And these big companies, Lloyds Bank, BlackRock, the fact they're pushing out small landlords, I think they're going to take all the properties off the small landlords, and then who knows what could happen.
Wow. Of course, Serco have said quite publicly, haven't they? Not us, we didn't do it.
Yeah.
No, nothing to see here.
It wasn't Serco.
It wasn't Serco. But no, it is. Look, it's been fascinating talking to you. You've done the right thing.
I appreciate that. And it was nice, the support that I got from the public, because I thought, man, my lawyer told me, even my wife was like, oh, don't post that because people are going to... And I said, you know what, though?
But you're on the side of the British people.
I'm happy to die on this mountain.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Yeah.
And I posted it, but actually the support was overwhelming. So thank you for having me on, and thank you to everybody, and thank you to everyone that's booked. The bookings at Willingham House has gone up mad.
Hey,
so
there you go.
You know what?